Hey, what's up everybody? It's Matt here with another game update. So excited to share with you all the cool things that I did this month. I completely redid the main menu, tore that down. It's looking great now. I added language support for my game and rebuilt the dialogue system to be more flexible and future-proof. I also worked on some VFX. I did some work on NPC AI so that it behaves a little bit more naturally. All this stuff trying to get towards the goal of actually getting the game in your hands as soon as possible and getting your feedback. There's still a few more things I need to do before I'll be able to do that, but yeah, hopefully I'll be able to set up a Discord and sort of figure out a plan for how I'm gonna do that. There's still, a few parts of the game that I want to get in there, at least in a rough state, so I can give you guys a complete picture of what the game's gonna be and get your opinion on that. I don't wanna show you just part of the car, I wanna show you the whole car, and even if parts are still rough, and then you can kind of tell me what you think. So yeah, super excited to do that. But yeah, let's go. Let's get into the video. The last time I showed you guys my main menu, it looks something like this. It's really simple, bare bones, but it got the job done as a prototype for a long time. This is the first thing you see in my game though, and I really want to make a good impression, and this just isn't doing it. So I decided to give the whole main menu system an overhaul, and this is what my menu looks like now. Everything's in 3D now. This is still work in progress, but I'm really happy with the direction that it's going in. Fundamentally though, it still works the same as our prototype did. So I can push on one of these buttons to go to a new screen, and my camera is going to move through the space and transition. So this is the game select screen. It looks pretty much the same as you saw it before. It works pretty much the same, except for now I've added a little delete confirmation button so I don't accidentally delete my games. That happened a lot. And we also have a couple other menus here. This settings menu, for instance, was in the placeholder menu. Before there was nothing there, but now I have a fully functioning settings menu. Probably need to still add a few more things here. Let me know if you guys have ideas on what I'm missing, just so I don't forget. But yeah, this is actually fully functioning. It stores all these settings in between play sessions. So I have language here. This is actually a much deeper issue. I'll get into it in a little bit. I did have to rewrite my whole dialogue system, so this is really cool now. I have a volume slider, and this volume setting is also stored. You can't hear that, but the volume is going up and down. You can change the graphics, you can look at the shadows here. Whatever I have set to these presets in my project settings are going to, be inherited, I guess, when you change these settings. I can go from full screen to windowed mode, and then I can also change resolutions, and these resolutions are populated by the aspect ratio of the monitor. I also have a feedback button up here that will link to a survey that's actually working now. So kind of getting ready for that public playtest or private playtest or whatever, so I can get feedback from everybody once they get playing. And then here I'm gonna have the title, but I don't know what to call the game right now, so yeah, that's actually proven to be a lot harder than I thought it would be. There's a new menu here too, the team. So as you unlock kids in your game, they're gonna show up here, you're gonna see. So these are the 4 that you're gonna start with, and then you'll see the silhouetted version of each of those kids. So as you unlock them, they get revealed. And I'm also storing all this so it's persistent between play sessions, which is really cool. And you can even just go reset your progress. You get the little confirmation so you don't accidentally delete your progress and all the kids you unlocked. Each time you unlock a kid, you'll have new options when you play a new game to play as one of those kids. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of the new menu. If you think I'm missing something or there's something you don't like, I'd really appreciate the feedback. Let's take a quick look at how I'm actually saving all that data and making those settings persistent between play sessions. So this is my settings save manager. This is responsible for saving and loading all of the resolution, the volume, the graphics quality, all that stuff between sessions. The data structure I'm using is JSON. First thing you need to do is load in this system.io namespace. This is going to give you access to reading and writing JSON files from Unity. I also have Unity Engine UI and TextMesh Pro. Those are for UI and text. So we'll kind of skim over this. In the start function, the first thing I'm doing is setting this variable. I'm using application persistent data path. This is really useful because it's sort of a generic path that is going to work on different devices and machines. Even if they don't have a C drive, this is going to be totally fine. I'm looking for that JSON file. If that file exists, we're going to load those settings. If not, skip it, chill. If it does exist, we'll load those settings. We're going to read all the text and wrap that in this JSON string. And then from here, we're going to use JSON utility, and we're going to actually populate our settings data structure. So that's this here. This is sort of the structure that I can use to communicate with scripts and components inside of my game. So as we go down, if we've loaded all this stuff, we're going to send that data to the game. This just sort of, sends things to various scripts and components all over my game. The next function that's important is the save and apply change settings. This is actually going to be fired when you click out of that settings menu. That's when I'm going to try to save all of your changes. First thing I will do is I'll go and gather all of those the setting data. So that's basically me grabbing from around the game. I'm going and populating that data structure with like the volume, the language, and so on. Then I'm writing it back out to JSON. It's pretty straightforward, very simple. JSON is a great format to use if you don't really care too much about players editing those files and like futzing around in there. I don't really care if anyone does that. Here, let me give you a look too of actually what that JSON file looks like. This is the structure for my settings so far. I have like language, game volume, quality, all the same things that you saw buttons for earlier. This one's really simple. You can see here, this is actually what a saved game looks like. It has the name of the game, which isn't really important. I don't know why I have that in there. Then player data, I store for each player. I store the health, outfit they have equipped, their weapons, abilities, and the candy they have. And I do that for each player. And then down here, I store the seed of the game. So everything is sort of pseudo random in my game. It's all derived from a seed, so I can replicate a randomly generated map or a randomly generated weapon, and then sort of their progress in the game, where they last left before they quit the game last. Like I said earlier, I redid my dialogue system basically from the ground up. Before, I was sort of doing it in the component itself. So attached to different objects around the game, I would have these conversations written out just in the editor. That sort of worked at first, but like as I kind of got farther into making my next boss, which was going to use the dialogue system a lot, I started to see the shortcomings of that and decided to revamp it. Now, instead of having everything scattered all over the place at the game, I have it in text files. So here you can see different folders, each one for the languages I have so far. Those were actually in the settings menu that's populated dynamically. Within each of these, you can go down and you'll see I have just text files. So all of my dialogue now lives external from the game. When I go to add a new language, hopefully I'll be able to send these out to people who speak other languages and they'd be willing to translate for me. From the training camp, this is one of the dialogues, one of the conversations. And so I have this, it basically goes and reads line by line and looks for this dialogue tag, I guess. And that's how it knows, okay, this is one dialogue and then, oh, here's a second dialogue. And it will go line by line and read this out to the player. And then depending on what setting they have checked in the menu, it will choose a different language. So it's now a much more flexible system and I think more future-proof because of it. From those dialogue text files, we're going to come here to the read from dialogue function inside of my dialogue trigger. This is responsible for feeding my dialogue manager, which is what you see on screen when a player is having a conversation. The first thing we'll do is we load resources from this folder in my dialogue folder. We check to see what language you have in your settings, and then what conversation you're having, what character is speaking. Then we clear the dialogue. I start going through the text file line by line. So if that line is empty, I'm not going to do anything, but if it's not empty, I'm going to look to see if it has that dialogue tag. If it does, that means I know we're starting a new conversation. If not, then I'm going to add that line to the current dialogue. This is a very simple system, but it's been working really well so far. So one other thing that I worked on last week was sort of a polish pass on how my enemies move. Before, they would sort of lock onto you and always be facing you no matter what. So if I moved really quickly past them, it would look really weird. They just sort of looked janky and very game-like. Now, as I roll through them, you'll see they actually kind of gradually rotate to face me. It looks a lot more natural. Also, they stay spaced out. They won't overlap anymore. Before, they would kind of get really close to me, sometimes even get underneath the character or get on top of each other. The way it is now, they actually read a lot better. All right, I hope you guys liked the video. This one was a bit more code heavy, so hopefully you found it interesting and not boring. I did a lot of back-end work this time, so yeah, there wasn't a ton of art to show. So you know, you never know what you're gonna get with these. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the cadence of these. Again, I just switched jobs, so that's kind of flipped life upside down a little bit. Hopefully you'll hear some news from me soon about getting a public test out. I'm not sure when that will be, but soonish. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next update. Bye.